I want to go to the morning's valuation where you give me a half-ass sum of the parts. You've got the service sector at the 1.5 trillion of 4 trillion, which is $257 per share. What's the total sum of the parts? Is it above 257, 12 months out?
Yeah, it's closer to 300 sum of the parts.
And you just can't go to 5 trillion because you don't want to, be inflammatory.
Well, the big thing is really the services is going to be the key over the next year. The re-rating that we're going to see in Apple, I think numbers moving higher, is going to be services driven. I think that's where the 1.5 to 1.6 trillion comes in. But I do think what's starting to happen now, despite what John thought in terms of like some of the China issues, you're now seeing unit growth come up, ASPs going up. To me right now, in Cupertino, they're popping the champagne, getting ready for a phenomenal year ahead.
Buried in the CFA is a barbell. And one is, are you running is a revenue growth story, or are you running as a profit-making story? To me, Apple's almost out of Graham, Dodd, and Cottle. They're running this thing for profit, right?
And that's how Cook, it's what Jobs did, it's how they've done it. But I think the difference, to your point, it's the monetization. The install base is unparalleled, 2 billion iOS devices. So now
half of them are in my house. Continue.
Exactly. And look, and you're one of the cross-selling opportunities for Cook. And the thing is that now what's starting to happen is that if you look at the services piece and you look at the penetration, the average Apple customer is still 20 to 25% penetrated from a services perspective. That's going to continue to up. And then I believe the big thing here is the AI App Store that I think they introduce over the next year. That's going to be the new shiny object.
Okay, before we get to the new shiny object, let's talk about the old shiny object, the iPhone. If I told you where revenue was and where it would be at the start of the year for the end of the year, would you have said this stock was up 52% year to date? Yeah,
so what I'd say is that part has definitely been an upside surprise in terms of where the stock, I think the difference, it rests on the services business and what I believe is the margin story. So even though from a unit perspective, there have been some choppiness over the last quarter or two, if you look at the margins are up. I mean, so they've been able to expand gross margins in this environment, which I know we've talked about a lot of this on the show, but that just shows that they have control over their ecosystem from a chip perspective. That's been a key of the bulls.
You think they can go X growth but still retain a growth multiple?
I think this past year, they were able to go X growth and get the growth multiple. This next year, the renaissance of growth happens in Cupertino. On services, back double digits. Unit, from an iPhone unit perspective, continues to I'll say, single digits. And the China story, despite all the worries, despite many yelling fire in a crowded theater, we're going to see China growth.